Hi Marika, it's Friday. So this week you asked me about my experiences, moving out and living on my own when I was younger. And I actually have something to talk about. I lived on my own-ish a lot, actually. When I was a teenager, me and my mom, we didn't get along so hot. So I made the choice to move out after graduation. Now for me, that meant moving out the day after graduation, and I moved in with a buddy of mine. A friend of mine moved into his dad's house, and his dad didn't live there. He let us live there rent-free. We just had to pay the bills. So I actually got really lucky on that front. That lasted a few months, and I eventually moved in with a boyfriend, and I've pretty much been going from there ever since. I lived with a boyfriend for a while in his parents' house, and then we eventually moved to Virginia. I don't know if you're familiar with the states in the U.S., but it's a couple of states southeast of here. It's about a 7.5-hour drive from where I am now. And we moved in with my grandma, and I lived with her for a couple of years. When that relationship ended, I lived with my grandma until I got in another relationship and eventually moved in with that boyfriend. From there, we moved in together with a bunch of our friends and co-workers of mine. That one was a lot of fun. There were 9 of us in a big 4-bedroom house. Most of us were coupled up. Those of us that weren't bunked in a room together. And so it was kind of like having a college dorm hall. We were all college age, but we were all working. And we all lived together, and we all worked at the same place, and it was a lot of fun. We spent our days off either hanging out at our house or at our place of work because that's where our friends were. This shadow thing is not my friend. After a couple of years, I moved out of that situation, and I moved back in with my grandma for a few months, and that was when I met Mackenzie's dad. And we dated for a little while, and then he moved in with me, and then we moved in together into our own house down in North Carolina. And we were together for a while, and we even got engaged. I found out I was pregnant with Mackenzie. After that, things didn't go so well, and I ended up moving back home to my mom's. By that time, 5 years later, my mom and I had pretty much repaired our relationship, and we were doing a lot better, and she helped me out a lot. After living with my mom, I eventually moved out with a friend of mine that I worked with, and I moved into the place I live now. When our lease was almost up, he moved out, and then this apartment became mine. For the first time, possibly ever, I was finally living actually on my own, except for now I have Mackenzie. So even now, I guess I didn't really live on my own, but can you really consider a baby to be, real company when you're living on your own? Now my boyfriend Eric lives with us. Now understand, the entire time that I was on my own, even though I lived with other people, I always paid bills. And that's probably the most difficult part about it. I mean, living with other people, you learn, you have to learn to get along with people, and you have to learn how to work out your problems. I mean, when we had, when I lived in the 9-person house, we had house meetings like once a month, or if a big issue was happening, to address any issues so that we could try to take care of it. That pretty much covers the entire general synopsis of Brittany's life on her own after high school. The best advice I can give you, other than, making sure that the communication is always open between you and whoever you're living with, is make sure that you're with responsible people and that you all pay an even portion of everything. So whether you live on your own, with one other person, or with a bunch of friends, keep in mind there's always going to be differences of opinion. Some friends you find out you just can't live with, and others you wish you never have to leave. I've been through a lot of different situations, whether I was living by myself or with family members, or even with 1 or 2 or multiple friends. And I'll be more than happy to answer any other questions about that topic as they arise, because believe me, I'm sure you're gonna have them, and I've probably run into every situation under the book. Today I touched a little bit on how I got along with my mom when I was your age. What's your relationship with your parents like? That's it for me today. I can't wait to see you on Monday, and have a great weekend. Mwah.